Hey guys, welcome back to the Stuff of Legend. My name is D'Lo, and I am here to talk to you guys about some really exciting news. Coming up is the Avatar: The Last Airbender. This show was back, I think it was 2003, was probably the greatest show ever to come to an animated format. I think it was probably the best animated series of all time, in my opinion, and in many people's opinions, it's the best. It's up there with for Star Wars fans. A lot of people love the Clone Wars. A lot of people love Batman the Animated Series. There's a lot of great animated stuff that has come out over the years. Lots and lots and lots of stuff. But there's never been anything quite like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it's been a fan favorite for a very, very long time. And back in 2010, it was super disappointing. The fans were super excited because there was a movie announced about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and M. Night Shyamalan was taking up the movie. The trailer was a little bit like it got fans like excited, but then at the same time it was like, what's happening? You know, it looks a little bit odd. We were like, okay, maybe it's going to get better in the movie. And then the movie came out, and it was literally the worst thing to ever be made ever. It was probably the second worst, like for a movie that was built, made to replicate an animated series. It was either the worst or the second worst in history, probably second only to the Dragon Ball Z movie. It was very disappointing. However, that doesn't mean that a live action adaptation of Last Airbender could be is definitely going to be bad. It doesn't mean that at all. I think part of the problem was that M. Night Shyamalan was given creative control. He wasn't a fan initially. He became a fan after he signed on to the project. And I say fan, he basically watched the series in order to study up on the show so that he could make a movie out of the first two seasons, or like the first season and a little bit of the tidbits into the second season. It was very bad. It was very, very difficult to, and I mean, of course, it's going to be difficult to try to take something that's so episodic and it digs so deep into the character development, and you're trying to cram an entire season of storytelling into 2 hours or less. I don't remember what the runtime was on that movie, but it was terrible. It was a horrible movie. But anyway, you can tell I'm working through the PTSD from that like terrible fan experience. It was garbage. And if you guys have seen it, you already know what I'm talking about. And if you have not, if you saw the movie and you didn't see the show, I'm so sorry for you. The show is where it's at. The movie was absolute trash. As a movie and as a fan film based on the show, it was garbage. It was just hot trash, complete mess. And part of that was that the characters that were there were they were supposed to be either like Inuit or like, I'm sorry, not Inuit, Asian. There was supposed to be Asian, like Japanese, Chinese. There's supposed to be some like Native American representation. There's supposed to be like there's certain things that are there where the characters actually are based on certain cultures in our world. It doesn't take place in our world, but it's some of their cultures are representations of like ancient Chinese culture, ancient Japanese culture, or Native American culture. You know, there's different cultures that are there in place, and they were not fairly represented in the 2010 movie. It was a travesty. The whole movie was a travesty, and in the article that I cite in the description down below, if you guys want to check that out, Avatar: The Last Airbender. The writers are now working with they're from Nickelodeon. So the writers that were from Nickelodeon that wrote The Last Airbender, they're now working with Netflix. So Netflix is allowing the people from the original show Last Airbender to have creative influence to make with Netflix a live action TV series that is supposed to be very episodic, very interesting, just like the original show. And it's the same team, you know what I mean? So it's like it has that same spirit. Whereas the movie, the live action adaptation, was not those guys working on this movie. They gave it to M. Night, and M. Night just ran with it and did his own interpretation of what he saw the show to be, and that was hot trash. It was terrible. and there's like no getting around it. It's like there's some people that might have been like, yeah, that was kind of fun or whatever. The movie was a nightmare, and it was horrendous from a fan's perspective. It was garbage. They got everyone wrong. They tried to add like culture to the way that they were saying the names. Oh yes, I'm sorry, I'm not even paying attention to the chat. Awesome Animal says, hello, hello there, salutations. And you say you have a question. I am willing to take your question. So if you have a question, I will be more than willing to answer to the best of my ability. So shoot away for that if you want to ask anything. And then but keep it PG if you if you're gonna ask a question. It says, how do you feel about the new season of Clone Wars? Oh, so the new one that's coming out? I am so hyped. I'm that Clone Wars. Okay, I've always said my two favorite animated TV series of all time is Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is one of the reasons why I'm making this video, and second is the Clone Wars. And I love the Clone Wars. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it 100% captures the spirit of Star Wars while continuing to grow on the entire universe that's there. Because like you take a time. The beautiful thing about Star Wars is that it's an entire universe. It's galaxies and galaxies and worlds, and you can be telling the story of what's happening to Anakin right here, right now. That's guiding him to the path of becoming Vader. But then at the same time, there's hundreds of other stories, thousands of other stories you can be telling at that exact same moment. That's the beautiful thing about Clone Wars is that they do that. They take what's happening with Ahsoka, what's happening with Qui-Gon, I'm sorry, not Qui-Gon. Blah, blah, blah. What's happening with Quinlan Voss? Thank you. My mind is slow right now. But the Quinlan Voss, or you get Ki-Adi-Mundi, or you can talk about Plo Koon, or you can talk about Kit Fisto, or Aayla Secura, or any of the Jedi that are there at the temple. They're all on missions. They're all doing things. The war is raging, and that's one of the beautiful things about the Clone Wars is, in my opinion, it's the best time period in the Star Wars story. Now, of course, I'm a huge original trilogy fan, but also, in my opinion, the original trilogy is very focused. You know what I mean? It's like this is a masterful story. I'm not depreciating the original trilogy whatsoever. It's one of the best trilogies of all time. It follows the path of Luke Skywalker and the journey that takes him to overthrowing the Emperor and reuniting with his father and bringing balance to the Force. And it's great. It's magic, absolute cinematic magic. But there's not a whole lot that, I guess, it's not totally true, but like there's not so many other stories that pique your interest. You could ask yourself, okay, what's happening with the Hutt clans at the time? If Jabba's the top dog, what's happening with the other bounty hunters? What's happening with say like some of the other planets that we have seen, or maybe some of the planets, because they've done prequels and because they've done they went back and expanded the universe with the prequels. There's other planets now that we're aware of, like Camino, or like Dathomir, or you could talk about Geonosis. There's lots of planets that you could say, okay, what's happening with these planets at the same time? He says, sorry, one more thing. How do you feel about Lego Star Wars? And thanks for the answer. Absolutely, anytime. Lego Star Wars, the game, or like the series of games, they're awesome. I played those growing up. I love the Legos. I love every single Star Wars game I've ever played. I loved. Absolutely. Oh, the sets, Lego Star Wars. It's funny. I actually don't collect a lot of Lego Star Wars sets. I have some Lego stuff in the background. I received those from a really good friend of mine that I've had on the channel before, Daniel Gall. Great guy. He knows more than anybody I've ever met. Literally, I mean that. And he gave those to me. I mostly collect Funko Pops. I think you can kind of see those. Do you see that wall back there? Collect Funko Pops. But I like playing with Legos. I don't do that very often. I don't have any myself, but like I'll go over to a friend's house and we'll like mess around or pull out some old toys or whatever. He'll like unload his closet, digging out some of the old console games or whatever. I love it all. I mean, if you collect Lego Star Wars sets, that's awesome. I'll probably be doing that soon. I've got a 5-month-old kid, so in probably a couple years, maybe 3 or 4 years, I'll be buying a bunch of Lego sets and putting those together with him or my daughter even. And so that's going to be a blast. I love Star Wars. And it says, Daniel, I love him. That's where I got most of my information. He used to go to my church. Oh, awesome. I don't have the ability to really search you right now, so I don't know who Awesome Animal is. I just see a small little thumbnail and I can't see who's on it. So I don't know if I've ever gotten a chance to meet you, but Daniel Gall is the man. We go way back. That me and that guy, we go a long way back, and he's the bomb. Of course, I know Keith Mills. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Keith Mills, Keithy boy, Keithy boy. Love Keithy. I haven't seen you in a long time. And oh, nice. Oh, wait. So is this like Marcus or someone? Who am I talking to? Anyway, this is great. I don't want to give away too many names because this is the internet, and then everybody knows who everybody is. So try to keep some of the personal stuff off the chat, just because I want to make sure everybody's cool and protected on the internet. No, you're good. You're good. But anyway, the Avatar: The Last Airbender. In case you guys aren't aware, some people were worried because the live action adaptation that we've seen already is hot trash, and they were worried that doing it again in live action would be problematic. I actually don't think it's going to be problematic. All the Netflix, I think, has 700 original creations right now. That's between movies and TV and all that stuff. My wife, she's all, I know where you live. That's right, she does. And then what's it called? The Netflix, yeah, 700 original creations, and there was, I think they held the most nominations for the I think it's the Emmys. What's that? The live, or it's the television Oscars, basically Oscars for the television instead of movies. It's they had the most nominations out of any platform this year, and they're killing it. They're doing such a good job. And so Angel Gonzalez, hope you're having a good night, man. Did you finish watching the new season of Iron Fist, and what'd you think of it? Yes, Iron Fist was the bomb. I loved Iron Fist season 2. Iron Fist season 1 had tons of problems, right? Tons of problems. But me and my wife really enjoyed season 1. There was a lot to be enjoyed through that. Some people couldn't get past how convoluted the long laundry list of villains was, how the narrative kept changing, who the primary enemy in the story was. It kept shifting, and that for a lot of people was a huge turnoff. The script wasn't very good, and I felt like they didn't capture who Iron Fist was. I feel like Iron Fist 2 fixed everything that Iron Fist was in the first one. All the problems that it had in the first one were fixed in Iron Fist 2. And not only that, I would go as far as to say that you almost would not need to see Iron Fist season 1. Iron Fist season 2 sums up like Iron Fist's journey and struggle so nicely, you could almost skip Iron Fist season 1 and go straight to Iron Fist season 2, and it's really, really enjoyable. The fight scenes are really good. They get into his story, like his backstory. I love what they did with Davos, the main protagonist of, or antagonist, I'm sorry, antagonist of Iron Fist season 2. I love the supporting characters they had. They really did a really good job with say like Ward, Meacham, and Joy. The things that they did with these characters, they changed it up quite a bit, and it ended up working remarkably well. So my wife, Shannon, the lovely, the beautiful, she says, yes, we did. We loved it. Who would win, Iron Fist or Daredevil? I'm going to go with Iron Fist. However, Iron Fist in the comics is not known for brutality. He's actually quite a pacifist until absolutely necessary. But the beautiful thing about it is that he doesn't need to do a whole lot in the comics and stuff. He's basically like the Matrix. Like guys will be throwing punches and shooting like guns and stuff, and he's like boom, 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 boom. It's like a blur. He's all boom, 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 dodging stuff, and he's like, you need to calm down, center yourself. Your emotions are all crazy. And then like people lose their minds because they're getting frustrated with all his Zen stuff, and then he like starts dodging and dodging and dodging, and then he finally is just like, you know what? We got to end this. Boom! Drops the hammer. He uses the fist, or he'll subdue them, he'll choke them out, or whatever it is. Usually it's a kick. He does a lot of kicking, which I love. I'm a huge Power Rangers dude. Love martial arts. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, all that stuff. Huge on that. Donnie Yen, even. Donnie Yen's great. But yeah, so then the comments are continuing on. It says, what do you think about Thrawn? I got you here. Thrawn in Star Wars Rebels. And then my wife's, she was reacting to me saying Iron Fist would win. Personally, very shocked. I loved that they put Thrawn in Rebels. Thrawn is one of the best non-force using villains in all of Star Wars. There's some books out that Daniel Gall has loaned me. I actually have them back here on the shelf right now, and I'm yet to read them. But I've heard some of the audio books and things, telling the short form of this. And I've had many discussions with Daniel Gall myself. He has infinite knowledge, literally, and he's explained to me the stories of Thrawn and all that. And so I've gotten to know Thrawn through Daniel Gall specifically, and then also when he appeared in Rebels, it was that much more sweet because I feel like they did a really great job. Personally, I have a couple of friends who said they still prefer his stories in the books, but they thought that they did a good enough job on the TV shows. A lot of these people end up being snobs towards anything on the screen. People who read the books, they end up usually like depreciating the movies and TV because it doesn't do everything that the book did. And books have the ability to go so much deeper too, because they tell you their inner thoughts without having to speak those thoughts into the script. And so it's very different medium. But Daniel Gall is not one of those people. Daniel Gall like lives and breathes all of it. The books, the comics, the movies, the TV, all of it. He loves it all. And so, and I'm kind of like that too. Anything that I dive into, if it be the Dark Horse comics for Star Wars in the Clone Wars era, or if it's Clone Wars itself, or if it's Attack of the Clones, all those mediums, I love them. I love them so much. And Thrawn is great. I love how tactical he is. He kind of ends up being sort of like Bane to Batman, because not only is he like a powerhouse and he has the full like arsenal of, the the Empire at his disposal. He also has one of the greatest tactical minds in Star Wars, which is amazing, and you get to see that play out. And then also his deep appreciation for culture and art and artifacts, and it's really cool to see him obsess over that. And so there's been some rumors about, yeah, you're right, it's Heir to the Empire. I have that over here on the shelf. I just haven't read it yet. And yeah, I'm really hoping that they get us some Thrawn in a movie, in a live action movie. Rumor had it for a little while that they had cast somebody to play Thrawn in episode 9, and that was going to take place. But I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is that if they make some sort of an Obi-Wan movie or a Darth Maul, like another Darth Maul like movie or something like kind of follows the spirit of Solo, then I think that we will see some sort of interaction between like the crime syndicates and then the Empire trying to assert their dominance over these things and quell the uprising of these other syndicates that are stirring chaos in the path of the Empire trying to accomplish their goals. And I think we'll see Thrawn quell those things at towards the end of that, which would be great. That'd be fun, and you get to see some new planets. You get to see maybe even his homeworld. That would be very interesting. Perhaps Darth Maul ends up going to Thrawn's homeworld. I forget what that is. Daniel Gall told me, but I forgot. I don't have a perfect memory like he does. But anyway, that would be a lot of fun. Fun to fantasize, fun to theorize, and I love that. Thank you so much for engaging with me in the comments about this. And if you guys have any further thoughts on this, I wanted to read one thing before I cap off this live video. Was the writers, the co-producers of the series for Avatar: The Last Airbender is Konietzko and DiMartino. They released a statement on the project. I'm going to read it right here. Assuming the fans are assuring the fans that the characters of Avatar: The Last Airbender won't be whitewashed, and praising Netflix for the streamer's support in the live action show. So here's what they mean by that is that in the live action adaptation in the movie that M. Night Shyamalan had done, what he did was he basically took every Indian actor he could find and put them in roles where they were supposed to be Asian and anything else. And then some of the main characters, I think it was Katara and Sokka, they were they were super white, like they were really white. And there's in the show, they look Native American. They look a little bit darker. And we were like, the fans were kind of bummed because these characters didn't really look like the characters they were supposed to be, especially Zuko and Iroh. Nothing like that. They were full blown like Indian, whereas their characters were based off of ancient Japanese characters. And so that's one thing that he's using. He's using the word whitewashed. And I think in this moment, he's referring to the primary characters, Ahsoka, Katara. I'm Ahsoka. I'm talking about Star Wars. Sokka, Katara, and then Aang, and a lot of the primary characters being changed around culturally. And then what he says here down below, which gives me a lot of peace of mind, is we're thrilled for the opportunity to helm this live action adaptation of Avatar, The Last Airbender. We can't wait to realize Aang's world as cinematically as we always imagined it to be, and with a culturally appropriate, non-whitewashed cast. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to build upon everyone's great work on the original animated series. And here's something interesting, and go even deeper into the characters, story, action, and world building. Netflix is wholly dedicated to manifesting our vision for this retelling, and we're incredibly grateful to be partnering with them. This is very interesting because not only does it assure the fans that, hey, we know what our characters are. Unlike M. Night Shyamalan, we're not just fans. These are our creations. We know these characters. We know what they're supposed to be. We know the cultures they're based on, and we want to cast not based on anybody, not like this is a white character and we're gonna put an Asian person in this role, or a black person, or a Mexican, or whatever. They're gonna make the white characters white. They're gonna make the Indian characters Indian. They're gonna make the Chinese characters Chinese. They're gonna make the Japanese characters Japanese, and it's going to be culturally appropriate according to the storytelling and the way that they were written. And this is huge for people like myself who are quite originalist. It has nothing to do with like racist or anything like that. But it's just, you want things to be the way that they're supposed to be. So like if you have, say, Cyborg from the Titans or the Teen Titans or the Justice League, that's a black character. And if you give me anything but a black Cyborg, I'm going to be pissed off. And on the same coin, if you give me a Steve Rogers that's not white, I'm going to be upset just the same. So like, and if you give me a Wonder Woman and it's not a woman, I'm going to be pissed off. And if you give me, say, like, I don't know, like Beast from the X-Men, and you try to tell me it's a woman, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Like, you're messing with things that already exist. We already know the truth about these things. So that's kind of like my view on things. I want them to be the way that they were told originally, as best as possible. Like, you can take creative liberty, but don't change stuff. You know what I mean? And Joaquin, and tell him Joaquin said hi. Oh yeah, for sure. I'll tell him. I'll tell Daniel for sure. He doesn't actually go to my church either. Daniel, not yet. He says, I wish Daniel would come back to my church. Next time you see him, can you please tell him I said hi and thanks a lot? I will. So awesome, Animal. I don't actually know who exactly I'm talking to. I don't think you ever specified that. But if you don't have my number, go ahead and message me on not in this chat, but in YouTube. You can find me there, or you can email me at the Stuff of Legend Show at gmail.com, and that will be able to get you. I'll be able to get connected with you there. And likewise, if anyone has any video suggestions or questions they wanted to send to me, I can answer those. If you want to send those to me over email, you don't have to wait for the next live stream. You can send those at the Stuff of Legend Show at gmail.com. And then just put topic in the subject line, and please no pictures or videos, or I will not open them. Just send the text itself, and then we'll be good. So sweet. And I want to know what you guys have to say about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Were you guys fans of the show? Did you guys watch The Legend of Korra? What did you guys think about the movie when it came out? What are your hopes, expectations, and fears for this Netflix series? And do you think it's going to be good? I certainly think it's going to be good. And what they've told us about going deeper into the characters, story, action, world building, this means that they're going to try to dig a little deeper into the world instead of just skimming from major mission to major mission to major mission to major mission, which is what they kind of did in the show, which was wonderful. They're going to take their time and expand upon those stories even more, which is going to be awesome. Like they're going to show the pit stops and the stops along the way, different interactions with characters on the path to meeting the other major characters. It's going to be fun. I cannot wait for this. It's going to be grand. I expect great things from this because the show was great things. And then these are the makers of that show, and they're saying they want to be involved. So thank you guys so much for joining this live stream. This was really awesome. I love interacting with you guys in the chat. Everybody who took part in this, thank you so much. Angel, Awesome Animal, Shannon, you guys rock. You guys stay tuned for more right here on The Stuff of Legend.